Chapter 235. Blood sprayed everywhere. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. The proprietor of King Castle was Zhao Jian. He was a senior figure in the Tarantula Chamber of Commerce. When he stood on the wall and saw the soldiers outside, he became frightened. He rushed into the castle immediately and reported the news of the attack from the imperial court to Hu Minggong, who was recovering from an injury. Hu Minggong had been injured by two silver-gowned elders from the school of the martial market 5 days ago, in a battle that had occurred in the headquarters of the black market. He had just recovered. Hearing the news, Hu Minggong's face darkened. He said as if he was talking to himself, They arrived quickly. Did you see if it was Wan Chengchong or Jiang Tangai leading the army? Zhao Jian shook his head and said, neither of them. It was Jin Chaihan, the seventh figure of the army in the Yunwu Commandery. What? The Yunwu Commandery prince doesn't think very much of me. I can't believe they sent Jin Chaihan to attack King Castle. Ha ha. Hu Minggong felt relieved and said, how many soldiers does he have? There are at least 10,000, and they are all elite. Zhao Jian replied. Hu Minggong sneered coldly and said, the goods in the castle have almost been transferred away. I'm leaving today, and I will give the Yunwu Commandery prince a present before I do. I will also let him know that this won't end well if he chooses to proceed with this attack. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider walked in the room and said with a smile, Father, you are right. Jin Chaihan seeks his own death by coming to King Castle. Zhao Jian, you go and open the gate. Let him in. Yes. Seeing Hu Minggong and young Lord of Poisonous Spider so confident, Zhao Jian's fear vanished. Instead, he now had a treacherous smile on his face and walked toward the top of the city gate. Standing above the city gate, Zhao Jian gave the order to raise the white flag. He stared at General Chaihan in the distance and said, General Chaihan, please don't attack us. We surrender. Open the gate quickly. Let General Chaihan in. Bam. Pushed by 24 warriors, the gate slowly opened. General Chaihan smiled coldly. 2.5 kilometers away, they are indeed a motley crew. As soon as I surround King Castle, they surrender. They crumble easily. Zhang Yuochen reminded him, General, be careful. There must be a defender array set up in the castle. If you enter, and the evil warriors unlock the array, you will be in a very disadvantageous position. General Chaihan was a veteran and knew the power of the defender array very well. He nodded and said, indeed. We have to stay alert. General Chaihan stared at Zhao Jian who was standing above the city gate. He shouted, if you destroy the 4 array towers on the city wall, I will accept your surrender. Otherwise, my only choice will be to attack. Zhao Jian looked at young Lord of Poisonous Spider standing in the distance. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider smiled wickedly and nodded to him. In young Lord of Poisonous Spider's opinion, it was easy to kill Jin Chaihan and the 10,000 soldiers even without the array. Besides, he couldn't stay in King Castle anyway. It was better the array be destroyed, so it wouldn't fall into the hands of the imperial court of the Yunwu Commandery. It cost quite a lot to deploy a defender array. Bam, bam. With 4 loud bangs, the 4 arrays outside King Castle collapsed into piles of rubble. When General Chaihan saw that the array towers were destroyed, he laughed out loud. He swung his arm and said, Red Electric Battalion and Red Wind Battalion, come with me to King Castle. Let's exterminate the evil warriors. General Chaihan brought 2 battalions, almost 4,000 soldiers, and marched toward King Castle with great strength and vigor. Meanwhile, Zhang Yuochen was sitting in the carriage. He frowned slightly and talked to himself. They destroyed their 4 arrays. Did I overthink this? General Chaihan led the army forwards. As soon as they reached the castle, the city gate was shut with a bang. Ha ha. Jin Chaihan, you are too stupid. Did you really think I would surrender? Zhao Jian smiled. From all sides of the King Castle, hundreds of evil warriors in purple gowns rushed out. They were all the top evil masters and surrounded General Chaihan and his 4,000 soldiers. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider and Hu Minggong walked out from the castle and stood on the stone table. They stared at General Chaihan down below with a smile. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider said, General Chaihan, the Yunwu Commandery prince sent you to King Castle to seek your doom. Why do you serve the imperial court? You should join the Poisonous Spider Club. With your strength, You will be treated like royalty. Seeing young Lord of Poisonous Spider and Hu Minggong, General Chai Han looked pale and knew he had walked into a trap. Not only did he fall into young Lord of Poisonous Spider and Hu Minggong's trap, but also the seventh prince's trap. He did not understand why the seventh prince had set him up. One myth of martial arts could easily kill an army of 10,000 soldiers. Not only was Hu Minggong a warrior in the heaven realm, young Lord of Poisonous Spider also had the strength to fight with warriors in the heaven realm. It seemed that everyone was against him. General Chai Han didn't surrender. He clenched his teeth, lifted the pitch-black wolf's fang mace and shouted, "Brothers, fight!" Stubborn man. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider lost his patience. He pulled out his machete and infused his genuine chi into it. The inscription on the machete was fully activated. Two beams of light 2 meters high rushed out towards the army. Swish. With only one strike, dozens of soldiers were torn apart. The blood colored the ground beneath them red. In front of a master like young Lord of Poisonous Spider, it did not matter how large your army was. 10,000 soldiers or even 100,000 soldiers would not be able to stop him. When young Lord of Poisonous Spider attacked, Zhao Jian jumped off the city wall. He struck out a palm and 10 soldiers flew into the air. Zhao Jian's cultivation had reached the completion of the earth realm. He started to kill the soldiers in front of him and none of them could withstand his attack. Soon there were corpses everywhere. He rushed to General Chai Han and engaged him. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider looked at the thousands of soldiers before him. He revealed a cruel smile. A group of ants want to attack King Castle. This is a joke. Suddenly, there was a loud and distinct roar from outside the wall. The piercing sound echoed through the entire castle. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider's eyes narrowed as he looked outside the wall. Is there a master in the army? Bam! The city gate of King Castle was made of refined iron, half a meter thick, but it was shattered into pieces by one powerful sword breath. The broken pieces of the city gate flew toward the evil warriors under the control of the attacker's genuine chi. Bang! Bang! 17 evil warriors' bodies were penetrated and flew into the air. The blood was spluttered everywhere. They all died instantly. Zhang Yuochen held the Abyss Ancient Sword in his hand and walked through the city gate. He stared at young Lord of Poisonous Spider and said, "Hu King Shan, we meet again." When the city gate was shut, Zhang Yuochen knew that something was wrong, so he made his way to the castle right away. Outside the wall, the shouting of soldiers and the sound of drums could be clearly heard. The remaining 6,000 soldiers formed an attack and rushed toward King Castle. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider saw that Zhang Yuochen had entered the castle. He was shocked, then laughed out loud and said, "Zhang Yuochen, there's a way to reach heaven, yet you decide to break into hell." "Did I?" Zhang Yuochen smiled. "I'd like to see whose heaven and hell it is." Young Lord of Poisonous Spider hummed coldly. He had a serious expression in his eyes and said, "This time, you won't be able to escape." Young Lord of Poisonous Spider jumped up into the air more than 30 meters, and swooped down rapidly. Using his speed, he swung toward Zhang Yuochen's head with his knife. The bright knife light extended more than 10 meters in front of him, like a brilliant moon falling from the sky. Swish! Zhang Yuochen moved his body slightly and vanished from where he stood. What? Young Lord of Poisonous Spider was shocked. He did not expect Zhang Yuochen's speed to be so great. Bam! The ground shook when young Lord of Poisonous Spider struck it with his knife, leaving a mark 100 meters long and 3 meters deep. The destructive power far outmatched what a normal warrior could produce, astonishing everyone. "You are too slow." Zhang Yuochen spoke behind young Lord of Poisonous Spider. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider's expression changed. When he was about to turn and strike again, Zhang Yuochen had already struck out a palm at his back. Boom! The powerful palm knocked young Lord of Poisonous Spider to the ground like a brick. He rolled 30 meters and demolished a wall. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider flew awkwardly into the air from the ruins and fell to the ground again. He tore off his now shabby coat, exposing a set of silver armor. With the protection of the armor, he survived the palm from Zhang Yuochen. He was only slightly injured. The armor on his body was called silver armor with snake scale, which was a level 6 genuine martial arms. It was made from overlapping silver scales. "Zhang Yuochen, I once looked down upon you. It's no surprise you wish to fight me, Your cultivation has had a great breakthrough." Young Lord of Poisonous Spider stared at Zhang Yuochen with rays of green light in his eyes. Then they turned completely green, making him look very monstrous. The soul-absorbing eye. This was a martial technique in the mid-class of the spiritual stage. Generally, only warriors in the heaven realm could practice it successfully. Although young Lord of Poisonous Spider practiced the soul-absorbing eye, he did not do so successfully. Zhang Yuochen's spiritual power was very powerful. You could not expect to hurt him if you had not succeeded in practicing the soul-absorbing eye. Zhang Yuochen merely ignored his soul-absorbing eye. He rushed at young Lord of Poisonous Spider and attacked with his sword. Sacred Plenilune Sword. The Sacred Sword skill was just a low class of spiritual sword technique. However, when Zhang Yuochen reached the level of heart integrated into sword, he practiced the Sacred Sword skill to the perfection of martial arts. The perfection of martial arts was a very advanced realm. Once a martial technique reached the perfection of martial arts, its power would be increased exponentially. Even the sword technique of a low class of spiritual could have the same power as the sword technique of the mid-class of spiritual stage. Young Lord of Poisonous Spider never thought that the soul-absorbing eye would have so little effect. He quickly had to hold up his knife and defend against Zhang Yuochen's attack. Zhang Yuochen's sword technique was excellent and ingenious. He could not withstand it. The Abyss Ancient Sword merely twisted slightly and avoided the machete in his hand. It struck young Lord of Poisonous Spider's waist. Puff! Young Lord of Poisonous Spider was cut into 2 pieces. Even the silver armor with snake scale could not withstand the Abyss Ancient Sword. A young top evil master was killed by Zhang Yuochen's sword. The blood splashed everywhere.